What's up, everybody? Hey, Peter, how you doing, man?
What is going on, Aaron? It's good to see you this morning.
It's good to see you, man. How's your family?
We are doing so good,
Yeah.
and we became parents 8 months ago, and now we have
Come
a
on.
2-year-old. So yesterday was our little daughter's birthday, and there is
the
more
big
pink
two.
in this house. Yes,
big
there's
two.
more
There's
pink
more-
in this house than I
Are
could
you okay
ever
with that?
imagine.
Is your
I mean, I have to be.
Is your man card all right with that? Like, you can handle that?
And I have to be, man. I got 3 chest hairs. I'm working on the 4th, and so this is what I gotta do, man.
That's what you
I'm
gotta
a
do.
girl dad. I'm a girl dad.
Come on, man. You could be a great girl dad, which is awesome, man. Yeah. I just added another girl to our family last week. That's what we did. Yeah.
Yes, let's go. How was it? Come on, huge wedding.
Oh, it was amazing. It wasn't huge. It was small. It was really
No,
small.
it was huge because it was your son. You know what I'm saying?
was.
That's huge.
Yeah, it was. You know what? I think I shared this last week. We, obviously as moms and dad, my wife and I, you kind of wrestle with some of the emotions of like what you feel like you might have lost, and some people that weren't able to come, family members, parents, things like that. But I'll just say this, man. It was amazing. It was special. It was memorable. It was everything that, minus not having a lot of people there because it was just immediate family only. But minus that, like, my wife and I are still smiling, just big, just ear to
That
ear,
is
like
awesome.
nonstop. And so yeah, it was really cool. And we actually streamed it to like all of our family, like on a private YouTube channel or something, which was just
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, so yeah, it was really cool. It was really
Come
cool. But
on.
hey, those of you that are logging on right now, welcome. We're glad you're here. Man, do us a favor and tell us who you are. Just jump in the comments real quick and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're at, where you're watching from in the world, I guess, right? And we just want to welcome you and greet you. And if you'll do us a favor as well, go ahead and share the post or share the stream, right? So we can we got an incredible interview coming up today, Peter, and so you're going to want to be on it. We'll introduce our guest just in a minute, but we're going to specifically talk today about a podcast that our guest did called 7 Things Your Lead Pastor Needs from You Right Now. And so it's going to be phenomenal. And we'll introduce him in a second, but you're going to want to get all of your youth pastor buddies, if you are a youth pastor, to be watching this. And I think if you're a lead pastor and watching it, then go ahead and share it with your lead pastor friends, because there might be some things that you get out of this that's just like, oh, I want my youth pastor to watch that, right? Which is cool.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be really good. But before we do that, Peter, we got something big coming up in the lead the generation family. Tell us about it, man. Tell us what's going on. What's coming up in
the
2
conference.
2 weeks from
yes,
now.
in 2 weeks, May 14th. The conference is happening, and it's an online experience. It's going to be unbelievable. The lineup is huge. So many great minds in ministry and in youth ministry collaborating together to talk about what's essential, to talk about vision, and just to encourage you, man. You're going to leave encouraged, inspired, challenged. May 14th. You don't want to miss it, man. It's so cheap. $19, and people are going to get to hear some great voices. I don't think that there's anything like this right now, and so I'm really excited for people to be a part of it.
So as a youth pastor, Peter, what are you most excited about? Because you're not only speaking, which is great, but you got some leaders and some student leaders that you're probably going to invite to come. Yeah.
Absolutely, and they're going to get the most out of all the sessions that the speakers are putting together. As a youth pastor, the part I'm the most pumped about is the access. In the moment, bringing my team together to grow together. I don't have to take them somewhere. It's
Right.
like, instead of me taking everyone somewhere, they're coming, like LGT's coming to me, it's coming towards me. And I'm also excited about the on-demand content afterwards. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this is going to be unbelievable because I'm going to be able to use it to develop people over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I'm super thankful for that. I'm just excited about building my leaders with some of the greatest minds around the nation without having to pay for the greatest minds around the nation.
There you go. And that's what I've been saying to people too. I know for some people they're saying, man, it's in the middle of the week. I can't get all my volunteers or maybe all of my students to go.
Right.
But, at $19, even if you miss half the day for a work schedule or a couple classes that students have to go to, it's still worth it. You know what I mean? And then if you decide to get the download pass, which is only $60, and that's super cheap too, then you can have that content. It's 30 plus sessions, Peter. That is enough content for you to do monthly leadership training with your leadership team for like the next 2 years.
No, absolutely.
So,
Yeah. And that's exactly what I'm
Yeah.
going to do. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So super excited.
That $60, that $60 investment into my leaders is a no-brainer for me anyway.
It's going to be huge. So, hey, we're going to show you a quick video about the conference. It's just like 30, 40 seconds long, but go ahead and check this out. We'd love for you to join us. It's going to be so good.
Come on. So good.
And I know some of you are watching the video and you're thinking, you just showed a video of a bunch of live people in a room, but it's going to be an online experience. And I get that, right? But there is going to be worship. It will be great. It will be engaging. You're going to get to listen to a dozen top speakers, 20 minutes. I'm telling you, they're going to bring fire for like 20 minutes. It's going to be content overload, so it's going to be great, and we're super excited about it. So we're putting links there in the chat for you. You can go right to our website. You can register right now. Registration is open. You can share it with your group, and it'll be great. So enough about that. I'm super excited, Peter, to introduce our guest today. His name is Shawn Reine. He is the district youth director for the Colorado, or the Rocky Mountain Network, we call it, right? Because it's more than just Colorado. It's a couple of states there. He serves as one of the district youth directors in the Assemblies of God, which you and I are both a part of. I know some of you may or may not be, but that's okay. And Shawn just recently released a podcast called 7 Things Your Lead Pastor Needs from You Right Now. It is so good. So, Shawn, we just want to welcome you to our broadcast today. We're excited to have you, man. Good to see you, bro. How are you?
Man, I'm doing amazing, guys. So great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it's good to have you. And both Peter and I have listened to your podcast, and when we heard it, we were like, man, it would be great to have Shawn join us and just to kind of say, walk us through some of these things, right? And I'm my ministry right now is really coaching and equipping youth pastors. And Peter, you are a youth pastor, and Shawn, you're leading a whole network of youth pastors.
That's right.
As well as
That's right.
And so this is going to be really practical. So let me just say this for those of you that are watching right now. Feel free to jump on to the comment section, chat it up, ask questions to Shawn. We're going to be dealing with some of those things. Share this with some of your youth pastor friends. This is going to be highly practical. This is going to be so helpful. We're all in the midst of this, COVID-19 stay at home. It feels like Groundhog Day, the movie, over.
It does, man.
And so sometimes we need inspiration, right? And that's what the conference is going to be, a lot of inspiration. But sometimes we just need practice, and we just need someone to say, in this season, here's some things you need to be thinking about. And that's what attracted us to your podcast, Shawn, and to your content. Cool. And so really glad to have you on the show today. Peter, it's okay. You just go ahead and let your dog bark in the background.
They are excited. They are like, man, Shawn's on the podcast and they're going nuts over there. I'm like, guys, stop. Hey, Shawn, I just want to say this too, man. I went ahead and shared your podcast this morning with some of our staff pastors, because when I heard it, I was like, where has this been this entire time? Dude, I felt like you were speaking right to me. And so I just went ahead and put it in our pastoral chat. And I quote, this is from one of our pastors. He said, this is so good, spot on. Where has this been the entire time? We all need to give this multiple listens.
That's
Come
amazing,
on, dude.
Man,
so good.
And that's encouraging.
So let's jump into it. Let's not keep anyone in suspense anymore. Shawn, you're going to walk us through these one at a time, and we're going to take questions for each and every one of them as people post questions, and we're going to talk through it. And so go ahead, Shawn, take us away. Jump into the 7 things your lead pastor needs from you right now.
So let me just tell you kind of the heart behind this. First of all, like what happened was we were on a youth pastor Zoom call, week one, and everybody's trying to figure this out, what's happening. And man, one of the youth pastors, we kind of just opened it up for questions, and he literally just said, like, I want to help my lead pastor, I just don't know how. And man, like, we began to unpack that, and you could kind of just hear some of the frustration that probably the lead pastor may have had with that youth pastor. And even the frustration of a youth pastor saying, man, I want to dive in. I want to help. I just don't know where he needs me right now. And at the beginning of this crisis, man, it's like trying to figure out, okay, are we doing church this Sunday? Are we going to have to meet online? Like, are we even allowed to be in our office?
Right.
And so, man, I just wanted to create something that was practical. I love what you said, Peter, man. Like, that was my heart. Like, what can we do right now that's going to add value to the situation? Yeah. And my tendency was, I'm just going to release these things that I think are important, right? Well, what I did was I took 2 weeks and I interviewed pastors, and I took 8 of our lead pastors in our network and said, what are 2 things that you need right now from your staff, from your youth pastor, from your media, from your kids pastor? And these 8 things began to just be repeated over and over and over again. Like, it was shocking, that whether it was a rural church in the mountains or an inner city church in Denver, dude, these lead pastors were hurting and they needed the same things. And that's where these 7 things came from, man.
Love it. Go ahead, man. Let's jump in. What's number 1?
Number 1, hands down, everyone said flexibility and focus. Doing things outside of their job description. Again, our job descriptions are turned upside down right now, man. Right. Like, I'm doing things for like the women's ministry, man, in our network. I'm doing things like, it's all hands on deck. And so these lead pastors, every single one of them, all 8, this was number 1, flexibility and focus, needing leaders that are understanding that every day things are changing, and we need the ability to pivot quickly, right? And pivot calmly. I think that's probably the biggest thing, because anybody can pivot and try to fix some things or change some things, but then there's this emergency mindset, and that's not what we need. We need a urgency without the emergency. And so this flexibility and focus, it's one thing to be flexible. Hey, pastor, whatever, I'm here, but yet laser focus, saying, I'm here for your needs. I'm here to advance the mission of this church, not my agenda right now. Yeah. So that was number 1, hands down, man, flexibility and focus.
Yeah, I love what you said there. 2 things, and I think, Peter, probably you wrote the same things down that I did. Urgency without the emergency. That'll preach right there. But then pivot quickly and calmly, and especially in light of the fact that every day there's just new information, and so. I heard on like another podcast type thing I was listening to, I heard Chris Hodges, pastor of Highlands Church, just simply make this comment. He said, if you'll wake up every day and assume something will change today, there will be new information that I'll have to adapt to. Yesterday's plan might have been spot on for yesterday, but it all might be irrelevant and obsolete at this point today. He said it'll help you emotionally be able to respond to how quickly things are changing and how quickly we have to adapt and how flexible we have to be. Peter, let me throw it to you real quick. How are you actually trying to live that out as a full-time youth pastor right now?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah, I think for me, just to be super transparent, and my friends, who are other youth pastors, it's so hard to see beyond the job description in this moment, because you feel such ownership over the ministry that's been entrusted to you. But this season, this challenge, this crisis caused, me, after I heard what you said, to think that, listen, I'm not just called to the youth ministry, I'm called to my pastor, and that's the first and foremost thing. Yeah. And it's my responsibility possibly to be flexible for him and to pivot as necessary. And so the way I'm trying to do that is by putting my ear to the ground, is anticipating his needs and looking around to see, man, where can I bring the most value? I think flexibility and focus was so difficult in this time because without even thinking about it, we all became selfish and said, how are we going to push our thing? And my thing is his thing. He owns it more than I do.
Right.
And it's my responsibility to serve him. So I really love that point. I mean, this is what drew me into the podcast. Once I heard that first point, I was like, this is a must listen. So good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to post a link for the podcast too, just so that those of you that want to go back and catch all of that, it'll be there in the comments, but it'll be really great. Shawn, back to you. Just keep on. Let's go through number 2.
Yep. So number 2 was collaboration and communication. And then even through that, again, we're talking about clarity. So in a time of crisis, it's so important to communicate clearly. It's so important. And right now we're not in an office. We're not seeing each other every day. And so lead pastors are making assumptions about their staff. Staff is making assumptions about their lead pastor. I mean, just the other day, my superintendent didn't respond to a text message like within 30 minutes. And I'm like, he's mad at me. Oh my God, what am I doing?
That's me.
What am I doing? This is crazy. And so communication is critical, guys, in crisis. And what we've tried to do is not over communicate in a way that every day I'm needing my lead pastor's attention. But at the beginning of the week, we do an email and we say, hey, these are the things I'm working on this week. This is what I'm not working on because it's not even relevant anymore. Maybe you guys were planning the Easter production, right? Or the Easter egg hunt. And it's time to stop planning that back then. And so what am I working on this week? What am I not working on this week? And then here's what's so important. I tell my superintendent and we share with these lead pastors, what are 2 things that as a staff, you need their input on? And so if they have that up front that week, maybe on Monday, man, you're not trying to call them or text them when they're trying to manage stuff or take care of putting out fires. They've got in written form, clear communication. Pastor, this is what I need from you this week, and this is what you can expect from me this week. Collaboration and communication.
Yeah, no, that's so good. What you just said, Shawn, reminds me of something I heard in a leadership lesson. I think it was years ago. I was listening to Andy Stanley in one of those Catalyst, sessions, and he talked about how in any organization and in any team, there are always assumptions that are made, and that assumption creates a gap. Yeah. And that you and I as leaders have the opportunity to fill that gap with trust, or we can fill that gap with mistrust.
That's good.
And so I'm thinking about that, like when you're laughing about like I text him, he didn't text me back. That's my whole life, like especially when I'm waiting for Peter to text me back. I'm just like he hates me. He hates me. I don't know, And he's like, no, bro, I was just trying to get all the pink out of my house. That's all I.
Exactly.
But choosing right now to fill the gaps with trust, I think is huge, right? And then also you as a leader within an organization, you can help your leader or your lead pastor trust you more by doing what you're saying, Shawn, which is communicate well. Like don't even give them an opportunity to make an assumption one way or another. Just fill the gap for them. Here's what I'm doing.
Right.
Here's what I'm doing. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Peter, go ahead. Jump in.
Yeah. I love that. And Shawn, you said something on the podcast like, go to your leader and say, what can I take off of your plate? Now we all know, like we all want to do that. And we're like, that's what I'm doing by being a part of this meeting. I'm being engaged, but to physically ask, I mean, that is a whole different level of engagement. I have to go engage my lead pastor. It's not up to them to come to me. I loved it because it was like you were just saying, put your foot forward first. You send the email, you be a clear communicator, you assume I love that so much, man. That was really helpful. Just that thought of like, I need to go and really ask him. And as soon as I listened to it, I just texted him because I listened to it this morning. I texted him again. I said, you know what? I said, what can I take off your plate? You know what I mean? I want to know. Like, I want to put those things into action. That's super helpful.
Yeah. All right. Well, and that statement brings ownership, man. It puts it on you.
Yes,
like
that's what
I said. And it's you're saying, hey, what can I take off of your plate that's going to help you not be stressed out this week? And man, how many lead pastors want their staff to say that, but no one's saying that today.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So, Shawn, number 3, you have creative thinking and problem solving. I love this one. I love all of them, but I love this one. Go ahead. Walk us through some of your thoughts on this.
Yeah, man. Everybody uses that phrase, thinking outside the box. So, now outside the box is actually in the box. And so I think truly outside the box thinking is saying, hey, I'm going to bring solutions instead of bringing problems. And so creative thinking says, okay, before I just quickly give a call, maybe I'm going to think through this a little bit, and I'm going to present a problem, but I'm also going to present 1 or even 2 options. And if my lead pastor chooses to go a different route, great, that's fine. I'm going to support that, but I'm going to be creative on the front end, and I'm going to bring a problem and a solution. I'm not just going to present problems. Anybody can present problems, especially in this season. Man, there's problems left and right with our churches. And guess what? When we go back, when we reopen those doors, there's going to be new challenges and new problems. So think ahead right now and bring solutions rather than just bringing problems.
That is so helpful. Like I think a lot of guys and girls and youth pastors in general, we get stuck in the cycle of task. Like this has to be done on Monday. This has to be done on Tuesday. And we get so in this routine, which is good. You got to have a rhythm. But if you're not creatively thinking and if you're not problem solving, that's what you get paid to do. If you're not solving problems, if you're not helping think, creatively, what are you actually doing? You know what I mean? Anyone can maintain. We're called to innovate, not just imitate. And I love that thought so much. And I think about Eran, the reason you like this thought so much is because this is you. Like, you are always creative. Just look at the conference, right? It's like we pivoted, we made a movement, and you're always problem solving. And so please speak to this, because I love the way you solve problems.
Well, and I'll just say this, like you mentioned the conference, right? And I've wrestled with a lot of fear in making that jump, just to be completely transparent. And I had some younger leaders around me. Some of our Lead the Generation team, they're all volunteers. A lot of them are like spiritual sons and spiritual daughters that my wife and I had the honor of raising up in our youth ministry. But boy, but they had some really strong and younger thoughts and opinions that really benefited me. And that there's a comment here from one of your friends, Peter, and I'm going to put it up here because this is what we're talking about right here. That Steve says, help your lead pastor reach the younger generation. We get stuck. And we all have a tendency to do that, don't we? And the older you get, and sometimes even if you're younger, so sometimes age is irrelevant. We get stuck because we're comfortable with our methods. We're comfortable with our way of doing things. We're comfortable with our way of thinking about it. And so part of this for the lead pastor and the youth pastor is having the type of relationship where you can push and challenge one another in the thought process. And some of it is also intentionally inviting some new opinions or some new thoughts in there. So I don't know. Do any of you guys want to comment on what Steve's saying here? Because I think it's huge, and I know you guys know him anyway. So
yeah, we love you, Pastor Steve.
I know, man. I saw Steve click on there, man. Dude, so good to see you, bro. I would say to this point, man, what I feel like is happening, saying, help your lead reach the younger generation. Man, it's just setting up your lead pastor for a win. Man, if we can just tee our lead guys up, bro, that is what we're called to do, right? Like, man, we're here to reach students. We're here to serve the mission and vision of the church. We're here because God's called us. But, man, we are there to tee up those leaders around us for success. And if I can do that as a staff pastor, man, then I have fulfilled God's call on my life, man, and helping build bridges. Like, that's all really youth ministry is, building bridges between students and parents, between their teachers in school, between, them and their lead pastor. Such a great statement, man. I love it.
Yeah.
So listen, if you're just jumping onto the broadcast now and you joined us a little bit late, Peter and I are excited to have Shawn Reine with us as our guest today. Shawn is the District Youth Director for the Rocky Mountain Network in the Assemblies of God. And we're talking about 7 things that your lead pastor needs from you right now. And let me just say this. This applies whether you are a volunteer, whether you are a youth pastor, a children's pastor, whatever your role is. These all apply. In fact, I was going to say this at the end, but I'll just say it now. These all apply whether you're in COVID-19 lockdown or whether you're in post-COVID, right? And I know we're all looking forward to the day that we can stop saying things like pre-COVID, in COVID, post-COVID. We're like all done. But here we are, and this is really practical and super helpful. All of this content comes from a podcast that Shawn released recently called Seven Things Your Lead Pastor Needs from You Right Now. And there's a link there in the chat, and we'd encourage you to go subscribe to Shawn's podcast and check it out. We're about halfway through. Go ahead and share the video. If you love this content, go ahead and ask us questions in the chat because we want to highlight your thoughts and your questions as well. So, Shawn, we're up to number 4 now. We're up to number 4. What's our 4th tip?
Yeah, number 4 is so practical, man, and so simple. It's just helping with personal touches. You know, right now everybody's scattered, and your lead pastor is feeling that pressure of calling everybody, Facebook messaging, emails, you know, all of these personal touches. And if you're looking for one way to take something off their plate, if you presented the problem of, hey, how are we going to connect with everybody? Pastor, here's my solution. Me and my leaders, we're going to take care of that for you guys. We're going to do this. I also released a link about ways that students could help the elderly in their church. And there was a group in another state that saw that example. They took that and they went out to their community, and students were helping elderly in their neighborhood. Man, what a great way for you to take something off your lead pastor's plate, helping with those personal touches. You've got students sitting at home that would love to just bug everybody on social media, man. Turn them loose, bro. And just really empower your students and allow your lead pastor to have that freedom to say, hey, man, we will take care of that for you.
Well, and you know, your lead pastors are right now, most lead pastors that I know and I've talked to, their number one concern in this season is losing relational connectivity with their people.
That's right.
And so if your lead pastor is burdened with figuring out technology and figuring out how to make the connection happen, then all of their energy and focus goes there rather than where they want it to go and biblically where they need it to go. And so just unpacking that, Shawn, I think that's huge for us. If you happen to be really gifted in the technology social stuff, then take that off. And let them be the pastor and let them shepherd, right? Peter, how are you doing that? Just kind of walk us through. You're on a church staff. You're working with a lead pastor right now. Give us some practical examples of what you're doing.
So super awesome. You know, Steve Amar's in here, and he was my lead pastor. And I want to let you know, Pastor Steve, live, I could have done way better. I think I want to add to what you said, Shawn. You said help with personal touches, and I want to add with a good attitude.
That's good, man. That's right.
So, like, even for me, like, just being super transparent, like, you know, we use planning center workflows to distribute our people, and so we were working with personal touches. But as a staff member, when you're working on other things, right, and then you see I have 70 connections to make, you're like, how am I going to do this? And then, you know, you have your brilliant executive pastor who said it needs to be done by this date. You're like, whoa, I'm feeling under pressure. But it's a gift to be able to help my pastor take care of our people. You know, this is the first time, if I'm just being real as well, where I'm like, ooh, maybe not everybody wants to be a part of a big church because these are a lot of calls, you know?
That's right.
But I'm really just trying to do that with a great attitude. I'm trying to show the best side of our church. I'm trying to be a perfect example of the heart of my pastor to the people. And so I'm not just sending a text message that can be sent to anyone and they can tell I didn't put any effort into it. I'm really making the personal touch personal, and I'm saying, this is Pastor Peter. Here's my secondary number. Call me. Let's talk. How can we help you? What do we need to do for you? I'm engaging them. I'm going past one response and getting to the heart of it. That's what I'm trying to do to make sure that his people know that their pastor cares, and that's shown through me. So that's what I'm doing.
That's awesome.
I love that, Peter, too. Like make the personal touch personal. You know,
that's so good.
I remember one year for Christmas, I sent out like 50 text messages to family and friends, and it was a straight copy and paste to every single one of them. And like one of my nephews called me on it, and he was like, "Yo, thanks for copying and pasting my text message to me." It was like they knew. I was like, "Oh, this generation is so smart. Like they figure everything." All right, Shawn, back to your podcast. Number 5 in your podcast on 7 things your lead pastor needs from you right now is show initiative.
Man.
Walk us through it.
So number 5 and 6, man, really kind of hit us between the eyes, I believe, because right here, man, some departments they're working harder than youth department right now. Or maybe the media guys are really stressed out, and they're getting all the attention possibly. And so you're sitting there going, what do I do? Like this youth pastor that was saying, I want to help, but how? Showing these initiatives, these are things that we need to be thinking 2 months ahead, right? What's going to happen is when we come back from all this, and whenever that is and however that looks, what you did during these last 6 weeks will show. It'll tell on you, all right? Yeah. And so what you've been doing, whether it's health-wise and you just been eating Oreos the whole time, man, you're going to come out of hiding a little bit heavier. Or maybe you've been running or walking. Well, the same thing in your job and the same thing spiritually. What you've done in these 6 weeks will show up in August and September. And so I'm telling you right now, man, show initiative. Take the bull by the horns and get in there. And this is where that statement comes in. What can I take off my media guy's plate? What can I take off the kids pastor's plate? Man, we are all on the same team. And if the team loses, man, we lose. And it's not about the youth ministry succeeding or the kids ministry. If we can't understand that we're on the same team right now, man, I don't think we're ever going to get it. So showing initiative today is going to help you 6 months, 3 months, 6 weeks from now. And it's going to tell on you what you're doing right now.
Right. Right.
So what I heard you say there, Shawn, was when this is over, I'm either going to have the quarantine lean or the quarantine 15.
Yes.
I love that.
That's right.
That's
awesome. So, Peter, I'm going to ask you to talk about this real quick. Before you do that, hey, those of you that are watching right now, put some questions in the chat. We want to hear from you. Right now, this is a kind of a three-way conversation, but we'd love to open it up and just hear maybe what are some of the things that you're wrestling with or some questions you have about showing initiative or personal touch or creative thinking, collaboration, flexibility, all the things we've talked about. So while Peter's unpacking a little bit of what Shawn just said, go ahead and throw some chats there. Peter, take it away.
Yeah, so I think this point speaks to what we were trying to touch on a little bit before. This speaks to the proactive leadership and not just reactive, not just I'm doing this because my lead asked me to, or I'm doing this because someone assigned this to me, right? I'm thinking ahead. I'm trying to move this thing forward, right? Like I want to be a part of, like I'm going to let my lead pastor steer it because this is what God's called them to, but I'm going to help point out the markers like, hey, look, that's coming up right there. Hey, that's a red light. That's a stop sign. You know what I mean? And I think that what people think is that if they're not steering it, then they can't help with the navigation. And it's not true. You can help with the navigation. You can help point out blind spots. That's what we're called to do for our lead pastor. So I love showing initiative because there is something that you bring to the team that not everybody else does. There's something that you bring to the team that is so different from everyone else, and we need that voice. We need that perspective. Show initiative. Yeah,
that's good, man.
Shawn, talk to us about number 6.
Number 6 is patience and humility. You know, man, this is kind of that another slap in the face a little bit. You know, it's easy for our lead pastors to think that we're home gaming all day, or we're home, just doing whatever, man, going fishing, going hiking, whatever is your hobby. It's easy because we're not seeing each other. We're not around each other. And these are not snow days, man. These are not vacation days. I'm working harder, I feel like, in this season than I was just a month or two before this COVID hit. And understanding that it's a long game, it's a marathon, and it's going to require patience for my lead pastor and patience for me. We need to be forgiving of one another. We need to understand where he's coming from, put ourselves in their shoes as best we can. Maybe we've never sat in that seat. We don't know the pressures that he's facing. And so it's going to require humility on my part to say, I don't fully grasp the weight of responsibility that's on my lead right now. And so I'm going to be patient with them. I'm going to believe the best. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to not put my agenda forward right now. I'm going to say, you know what? Hey, that budget that you approved 6 months ago, guess what? I understand, Pastor, that we may not have that money right now. So I'm going to be patient on that. I'm going to show humility, and I'm going to be proactive And I'm gonna say those things to my lead pastor. Hey, you know what?
It's so good.
Don't worry about this right now. I don't want you
Yeah.
worrying about me. You have enough to worry about. Back to that statement. What can I do for you today that will lighten your load?
Yeah.
Patience and humility, man. Like that is a must in ministry, and it is a must in this season.
So there's two questions that came in. I want to hit both of them, and this first one is from Tiana. So Shawn, I'd love for you to take this one, and then we're going to go to Ricky's question next. And Peter, I'll have you take Ricky's question. But Tiana says, being new to the team, how can we best help out while still being a little unsure of your complete role? First, let me say this, Tiana. Thanks for your transparency. I love that you're just kind of being so real and being like, "Hey, I'm a little unsure." Shawn, how would you coach Tiana right now?
Tiana, I would say that you're in a great position because someone who's been there for 4 years, maybe they've kind of fallen into a rut in their job description, right? Like this is what I do. This is my Monday. This is my Tuesday. This is my Thursday.
Yeah.
Tiana, you get to say, hey, I get to reinvent what this position looks like. I get to help my lead pastor formulate the vision for this. And I think it's just asking questions as well. So I think that you're in a great position because you're not in the rut or the rhythm of the mundane of your job. And now you can say, hey, let's create what this position may even look like. Here's a for instance. I grew up in Louisiana. Steve Amaro was at a church that literally had a disaster pastor when Hurricane Katrina came through. Like that was literally their new job description. You are now the disaster pastor. And I love that because they pivoted calmly. And this staff pastor said, you know what? I will take on that role. I will own that role. So Tiana, you get to own your position and you get to ask very poignant questions that lead pastor. Hey, what is a win for me in the next 6 weeks? Always find out what that win is and what is the bullseye. Because guess what? If you think this is the way to the finish line and your lead pastor thinks this is the way, you got to get on that same page, man. So finding that win, what is the goal line? And guess what? It's okay that bullseye moves. It will move. Yeah. It will move, especially in this season. And even in real life ministry, that bullseye is going to move. Keep asking questions.
So good.
Yeah.
So Peter, take this question from Ricky here. Ricky's asking the question, how can I be more available, to my lead pastor while when I have little ones at home and my wife works full time. That's your world right now, bro. So dude, how are you managing that?
That is my world.
And I'm sure that Ricky's not the only one who's thinking about this question right now.
Yes. So I definitely am going back even to what Shawn said on point number 2. I'm really trying to communicate well. And I'm communicating the expectation ahead of time. And I'm telling them my situation. Like I told my pastor ahead of time, I said, hey, this is where I'm at home. We have the babies. We're here. So I'm going to communicate as quickly as I can. And I'm going to really make sure that in other seasons, I try to keep my emails short to a few sentences. But in this season, I'm going to over clarify. I'm going to communicate. I love how you started out your last statement area. You said, so what I'm hearing you say, that's a great thing for me in this season. I'm using all those moments. I think it's just hard. I try to do a lot of my work in the downtimes, right? Like I'm strategic with my schedule. I'm like, oh, it's nap time. Well, guess what? Now's my time to really plug in and check in. And, and also just with my wife working full time as well, we're trying to bounce times off of each other, trying to be flexible with our schedule. It's really hard and you're not going to be perfect at it, and it's going to continue to shift. But just taking advantage of those downtimes and over communicating in email and in group text and things like that, I think help a lot. Yeah.
So Shawn, you got one more tip for us, and then we're going to hit some more of these questions. There's a question here from Josh that we want to hit, and there's also a question from Jessica. And I would tell you, if you're a youth pastor and you're watching right now, look at what Jessica just wrote in the chat, and maybe even respond with some of your ideas in the chat. That'd be helpful. Not only to her, but to everyone else that's watching right now. Take us through this last one, Shawn. What's number 7?
So this last one, man, I really hope it captures your heart. It's so simple, but the statements, again, came from lead pastors. And I want you to hear some of their heart in this. Number 7 was just be prayerful. Be prayerful. One of the craziest things, man, that I reached out to a lead pastor and I just asked him, hey, man, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And this was about 3 weeks in, maybe 4 weeks in to this crisis. And he said to me something that really shocked me. He said, "You're the first person that's asked me that question."
Wow.
And I thought, man, that hurts my heart, man. I mean, our lead pastors, they're church members as well. They're members of your church. They're people on your staff. My lead pastors were my friends. Yes, they're my leaders, but man, they're my co-workers. I care about them. They're my co-laborers with the Lord. And one of the lead pastors said, pray for me. Be prayerful. Yeah, pray for the church, pray for our finances. But he said, pray for me. Man, it really gripped my heart, Eran and Peter. Like these lead pastors are out there and they're used to, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but they're used to having the answer all the time. They're used to being able to say, here's my 3-year vision. Here's what's happening next year. Even if they're maybe 60% sure of that, they're going to usually be that confident leader saying, this is the way we're headed. And guess what? Right now, they can't do that. We don't even know today if our governor will come on the news and make a statement that will radically change how we're even doing church today. Yeah. And so, man, be prayerful for your leaders. Guys, staff members, youth pastors, hear my heart. If you are not praying for your lead pastor, the enemy will drive a wedge between you guys as fast as he can. But if you're praying for them, if you're weeping for them, if you're crying out to Lord for their kids and their marriage, man, it's going to be so hard for the enemy to slip in any division or any wedge. Pray for your lead guys, man. Pray for your staff.
Wow.
Yeah. Peter, I can sense that you want to say something there. Go ahead, jump in.
Yeah, no, just when I listen to that point and I hear it again, it reminds me of what Leonard Ravenhill said. He said, no man is greater than his prayer life. And I feel that. And in this time, even though we're in the midst of challenge and crisis, I don't know about anybody else, but it has been difficult to pray. It's been difficult to pray because I felt like I was bumped or thrust into strategy mode. And in strategy mode, I'm putting things to paper. I'm making the calls. I'm shifting people around. And it was hard. I mean, really, really hard to just sit still in the quietness and be with the Lord. It was really hard to be prayerful. You know what I mean? And I've had to fight for that. And I just want to say that because I know there's other people that are doing that. I'm fighting for that quiet time, fighting to pray for my pastor. It is difficult. And especially in the times where it kind of feels like the days are all blended together. You're like, I think I prayed today, or was that last Thursday? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm watching Netflix. I'm like, okay, after this episode, I'm going to pray. Oh my gosh, cliffhanger. Cannot, so whatever. I know that's silly, but it's been difficult to pray.
You've been watching too much Tiger King, bro.
I've been watching too much Mother Goose Club. You know this. And so I really, that point speaks to me, Shawn. It's really helpful, really helpful. Yeah.
Awesome,
so
man.
There's some great ideas that are on the chat right now, and I can't highlight all of them for the sake of time. But I love Megan's idea, Peter. I think you should do that with all the girls in your home.
Megan's my leader.
Okay, there. Yeah, okay, there.
Yeah, she's my leader. She's unbelievable. So is Tiana. She's on our team. She's unbelievable. So Megan, that's a great idea.
The whole self-care night. Yeah, that's really great. I could use some of that up here. You and I both, Shawn, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So I want to take this one last question before we wrap it up, and we'll be quick in this. But I thought this was such a great question from Josh, and I don't know which one of you guys wants to hit this, but Josh says, how can I best utilize this season of waiting, not being in full-time ministry currently, but knowing that God has called you down this path or called himself down this path? Shawn, I'll give you a chance to respond to this first. I thought, boy, this is a great question.
Such a great question, Josh. And I would say this, man, you being on this video conference here is part of what you should be doing, right? You should be learning during this season. You should be asking questions. I tell you, man, I think that our generation, we undervalue the power of observation. Okay. Yes. Observation. And so look around. You can avoid problems that you will see in the future by watching how people succeed during this season and how people fail during this season. There are churches that are doing things right, And there are churches that are doing things wrong. And whether it's having church and being arrested, or if it's as simple as just blowing this off as saying, oh, our people are good, we're fine, we don't need to check on, whatever it might be. Josh, be an observer. Look around and write things down. Write these notes down. Learn from people like you have on this call, like Peter and Eran, and God's placed mentors in your life for a reason. I know people are busy right now, but everyone is available for a 10-minute phone call. Man, you'll be shocked at who you can get on the phone with just an email and a question saying, do you have 10 minutes? I have 3 questions. Respect people's times. I would do that with great leaders like Scotty Gibbons and even Craig Groeschel, like crazy people that you never think you would get time with. Man, if you just say, hey, I need 10 minutes, I have 3 questions. Boy, Josh, if you do that in this season, you will learn more than any Bible college. You'll learn more than any internship. Man, you're in an internship right now, watching this event unfold before your eyes.
It's so good.
Awesome.
It's so good. Shawn, thank you so much, dude. This has been so good. This content.
And thank you, guys.
It's been great having you. We're going to post the link for Shawn's podcast again in our comments. It's already in there once, but we'll throw it up again because we'd love for you to get connected with Shawn. I'd love for you to subscribe to his podcast. And man, we really appreciate you being, on the call today. It's
been great, man.
This whole thing. Hey, I know that you're spreading the word in your network about the Lead the Generation online conference. Man, just give everyone like a 10-second encouragement why they should be a part of this day.
Man, you definitely need to be part of this day. Just look at the graphic, look at the poster, and all these speakers, dude. Like, where can you go that you're going to get all of this input, all of these great leaders pouring into your life? Guys, sign up for this, man. We're super promoting this in our district. We want every one of our youth pastors to be a part of this. And so, man, I just highly encourage you, man. Look at those leaders, sign up, be a part of that. Even if you got to drop in and out of some of those sessions, do it. It's going to be worth it.
It's going to be so good. It's going to be so good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for everyone joining us today. I want to recognize some of our sponsors today, too, that help kind of make this whole thing happen. Peter Reeves, thanks for being a part. And encourage you guys to subscribe to Peter's YouTube channel. He puts out like some 5-7 minute leadership videos that are real quick and easy with tons of great content. And so do that. Jump on to Shawn's podcast as well. That'll be great. We want to thank Josh Leak Music for helping us with some of our underscore at the beginning of this. And hope to see you at the conference. The biggest thing that's been on my heart with the conference is that, and you kind of mentioned this, Shawn, but like lead pastors being in the midst of this struggle, feeling like I need some soul care. I asked the 12 main speakers to come ready to inspire and just impart and inject a massive amount of hope and encouragement into us as leaders, because I believe we all need that right now. And then we have about 24 breakout sessions, half dozen of those specific for just your student leaders, right? And then the rest of them that are just nuts and bolts practice in youth ministry. So you're going to get a great blend of both. It's going to be great. And we're super excited to see you and be a part of it. Peter, I'm going to kick it to you. Close us in prayer and any last comments that you might have for us.
Yeah, my last comment is just this, especially with the podcast that Shawn puts out. I'm going to use that for every new leader that comes onto my team. Because yes, it's speaking to this season, but like Eran said in the beginning, like this could be used over and over and over again. And I think there's immense value in the principles and the points that we talked about today. And man, I'm excited because this made me better. So I'm confident that it's making listeners better today.
And introduce our guest next week, man. I forgot to do that.
Man, our guest next week is my boy. And he is one of the loudest voices in the nation right now. Phenomenal communicator, great man of God. And his TikTok is amazing, people. It's Micah Mack. So next Friday, we are meeting right here with Micah Mack, and we're going to get to talk with him and connect with him on communication, tips for communicating better. So that's awesome. It's going to be so good. Really excited to have Micah on.
About that. Yeah. All right, man. Pray for us. Let's go.
Yeah. God, we're so thankful just for this opportunity that we have to lead in this season and in this time. Lord, I pray for every single person listening to this stream right now or that will listen to it in the days to come. I pray blessing over their ministries, over their lives, over their families. Lord, I pray, God, that you'd give them fresh vision and that you'd give them a heart to serve, especially their lead pastor. Just give them a heart to promote them and to serve them and to lift them up. Thank you, Jesus, for what you're doing. Thank you for our friend Shawn and for the wisdom that's being poured out through him. We love you, Jesus, in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Woo!
Amen.
God bless you.
on.
All of you
We
watching.
love you
Shawn,
guys.
Thanks
Yeah,
for being
man.
with
Yes.
me today. And
Thanks
we'll
so
see you all-
much, man.
Yeah, we'll see you all next Friday with Michael Mack.